ready? I kind of just jumped on here. Hold on a second. Okay. I'm not sure how this is. I put it's in like a not a podcast format, but anyway, it's really dark. It's early in the morning. Oh my gosh, so much has been going on, and I really am getting this pull to talk to you guys. Like when something really profound comes into my orbit, I'm feeling like I want to talk about it. And I think the reason why they had me pull that over here and off of Lula's Labyrinth is because Lula's Labyrinth is like my playground. Like it's my place to be anything, make anything, do anything I want. There's no rules there. Where the magical medium, it has a specific purpose. It's part of my divine purpose, which is to help others connect to their selves and to spirit and, blah, blah, blah. But also in my journey, I have learned a lot and I have grown to be quite, well, Spirit just said a prolific teacher. I don't really think of myself like that, but I think that's the other thing too, is that when I'm doing these, I'm not just talking about my life or talking out my ass. You know what I mean? These are things that I've experienced, things that I've learned. I'm a big ass sponge, man. Like I have been this way. I mean, I remember in my adult life having a conversation with my mom where she was like, it was infuriating. I was like, what was I like as a kid? Like we were having a moment and it went from like this joyful kind of moment laughing about, I don't know whose kid or what was happening, but I just remember we were laughing about like kids or something. And I was like, what was I like as a kid? And she just was like, it was like the first time where like I was adult enough to like where my mom and I were more like friends, we were more like sisters than mother and daughter. We always were really, but this was, because you're, and there's a certain stage in your age where like your parent still treats you like a baby. But then there's a stage where the lines really get drawn, the boundaries are set, and your parents like, okay, I get it, you're an adult. You know what I mean? It was like that kind of thing. And I think my family's always just been very blunt and said it like it was. And me being a triple Sag and my moon is Scorpio, I had no problem aligning with that energy, right? That was super easy for me to do. So it was kind of like if my family said it was true, then it was true. And that's what it was. And it didn't matter. And I was like, okay. And I didn't realize that at such an early age, I was being brainwashed by others' opinions. We don't realize it as a child. Even if we have moments as a child where we're angry and we're defiant and we're like, no, I have my own thoughts and no, I don't agree with that or I don't believe in that, blah, blah, blah. It's like it doesn't really hit us until we become adults and go out into the world, especially when you're working. Right. And you're meeting people from all different places, backgrounds. It's not just childhood friends or your friends' parents or, these are complete strangers to you until you get to know them. And that's why you have your work friends and then people that you work with. There's a difference. People that are your work friends are people that, they're like you and you're friends. And when you leave that job, you stay friends. Other people are like, you'll never see them again and you're okay with that. It's okay. They served a purpose. But I'm feeling this very strong energy. Actually, it's interesting because I started to do this about Mercury retrograde and tell you what's been going on with me because now this is the second day of Mercury retrograde. In real time, it's in America, Thanksgiving Eve. It is November 27th, 2024. But we are in the depths of it. Not to mention that the Mercury retrograde is starting at the end of a moon cycle, which is not my favorite because I feel like we're already at the end of the moon cycle. We're tired. We're in the rest and restore phase. We don't want to have a fucking Mercury retrograde thrust upon us, right? Like that's like the last fucking thing we need. By the way, I'm kind of raw and real right now. Yes. Then we'll get to that. But I'm realizing that I'm laughing and I'm keeping the high vibration, but also, certain aspects of astrology are there for a reason. They're learning tools. All of planet, the solar system, everything is a learning tool to stretch and guide our souls on this path of ascension, back to self, whatever that is. So I'm getting ready to talk to you guys about Mercury retrograde, and this has been happening to me for so long now. Oh, like I don't even know, many months or maybe over a year now, where I'm on one path doing one thing, and then it's like my something takes over my body, like my higher self just like comes in and is like, no, it's like beep, 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 boop. Like this has to happen first. It's like a reprogram, redirect. And it's been interesting. If you guys been having that, please feel free to comment below. You know, if you're not that if you're brave enough, but if yeah, I guess if you're brave enough to share your story. If you're not, that doesn't make you not brave. I'm just saying, like, I know right now that there's a lot going on and there's a lot of inner child trauma. So I think a lot of people aren't feeling very brave right now. That's why I think what's been happening, like even with the post election, it's like, you know, we're trying to be as polite as we can. Um, and it's just interesting. And when I say we, I'm talking about the people that were hoping for real change, you know, not somebody who's lying about change, but it really just wants to change things to the way that they think that the world should be run. Because it's not just our country, right? So they want to be back in control of the world. And that's a very scary thing for a narcissistic, egomaniac, demagogue child. And those are things that's their trauma to work through. And that segues into what we're going to talk about today, which is the Holy Father. And I will put a link below to the dragon activation that was thrust upon me, because I was like, one minute I'm getting ready, I'm going to grab my laptop, and next thing I know, my hand like literally went to this. I saw it on my screen, like, you know, it's got like the, you know, where you could see like there's a bunch of, what do you call it, the scrolling screen or whatever, right? I saw it and I thought, oh, that looks interesting. I don't subscribe to that person, but I just, for some reason, it ended up in my orbit. And while I'm doing all this stuff, it's like, it like started. And I feel like my pinky might have like, you know, just slightly grazed it, but I definitely was not looking for that. Which, can I just tell you right now, if you guys listen to my videos with commercials, I don't know how you do it. I literally am in more gratitude for you now than I have ever been in gratitude for anybody who listens to anything on YouTube. My husband and I, we pay for non-commercials. And the way we had it set up, I've been with T-Mobile for like, I don't know, maybe 15 years, like almost 20 years. I've been with T-Mobile a really, really long time, to the fact that like when I ever call them or go to the store, they literally have like a little spiel they say to me, and they all kind of put their little spin on it. But I realize that like when I've been at the store and other people, they don't say that to other people. So I can tell that that's a real thing. They'll be like, wow, you've been with us so many years. And it's almost like if you're at Trader Joe's, and those of you who know, you know, and if you don't, it's okay. But basically there's this grocery store chain, and if something like good happens, they ring a bell and the whole store is like, woohoo, or it's like something, I don't know. But anyway, it kind of reminded me of that. It's like, it's like they're almost, they say it almost loudly when I'm in the store. They're like, wow, what a valued customer. Thank you so much. Like, they're like, we know that you could go with other people, but like, that's really cool that you're still here, you know? And, and then sometimes I'll ask them and I'll be like, why do you guys seem so shocked? They're like, I don't think you realize how much people bounce back and forth to like get deals and free phones and like use the system and scam. And they're like, you don't do that. I'm like, no, I'm like, I just want to pay my fucking bill. Like, I just want to like get, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care about that stuff. I have too much to do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, just tell me where to pay, how much. Like, I mean, I research and stuff. I mean, I did notice something recently with a plan. And so I think I'm going to talk to Alder about it over when we see each other next, because I'm like, if we can really do that, that might be cool. But I don't know. I feel like I stay with them for a reason, and I've never been pulled to go anywhere else. Anyway, so I digress from that, but I will say thank you, because T-Mobile had this thing where like it was like a banking thing. They offered it to me, I don't know how many moons ago. It's been a really long time. So anytime I want anything through like apps or YouTube, all I have to do is when I go to purchase it, they say, would you like to go through T-Mobile? And so I would just say yes, you know. And and so I had, I don't know how many things, my Pandora, my Hallmark channel. Oh yeah, and our commercial free. I think it's just those three things. I mean, it's not like I'm, you know, high on the hog. I don't really play on my phone with apps or anything like that. I have the appropriate apps I need. I don't have games or anything. If you do, it's okay. I'm just saying I don't. But yeah, it was super, super intense. I was like, uh, I got a message from them and said that they're not going to be doing that anymore and that I needed to like, change things. And I was like, oh, okay. The other reason why I liked it is that instead of like having staggering things when things came out of my bank, I loved that I knew exactly how much my phone was going to be every single month with all of those things. And we only had that and our rent and car insurance. And that's pretty much it. And that's what we liked about it. Like we try to stay, as much as we can, like out of the banking and all the bullshit and whatever. But it doesn't matter who you bank with or what happens. And people are like, oh, the big banks and go with the credit unions. I'm like, who do you think fucking like credit unions don't stand alone? Anyway, it's all one thing, it's like it's just one thing. And they're like these little tethers and it's like a pyramid, kind of thing. So I digress again. But anyway, so I had the unfortunate um thing of getting this notice and I told Alder about it and he's like, okay, well just let me know and I'll put my debit card on there. So because he's out and about all the time and he's like, I'll just I'll always make sure there's money on there and stuff. And I was like, okay. So we stopped and I said, I don't know when they're going to go. I'm like, are they all going to be on the same day now? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how it works. I don't know if T-Mobile, like, I don't know when they come out. I don't know. So I started getting these things like, oh, you better put your card in because if you don't, it's like, you're not going to have these things, and I was like, okay. So one by one, they started going away. The first one that went away was the Hallmark Channel, which I was like, even though I watch it every day, because I literally do, like that was like the only thing I'd watch a Hallmark movie or a TV show or something. That was my little thing to wind down at night. Um, but also, I was like, I am commercial free. There's a lot of stuff out there. The holidays are coming. I'm like, you know what? I'll just watch YouTube movies or I'll find a TV show, whatever. So I'm like, maybe I'll go back to Hallmark after Christmas because truthfully, it was getting to the point where I'm like, I could scroll like 50 movies and I'm like, I've seen every single one. I'm like, isn't that funny? Because I started watching Christmas movies. I didn't tell everybody this, but literally when Bubba started like going declining, she's okay. She's still here with us, but we'll talk about that. But when she started declining, it was kind of rough. And then when I found out my mom was also declining, it got rougher. And then when Alder and I decided to separate, it was like my world blew up. So I was in fucking Christmas every day. Only way I could survive. That's why when you see my videos and things, I'm like, hey, you guys, because I have to stay in my own bubble. I mean, I go out into the world and I shop like once a week and stuff. But for the most part, I stay in my bubble. I stay there because the rest of the world is just a really misplaced, misused energy field. You know what I mean? Like we all know, like I can name a million things, nouns, adjectives, verbs of things that are happening, what's going on. It's unsettling, but also I can say this, that I have learned so much over this time. And what even sparked this podcast and this conversation was me realizing how much disconnection I was having through my healing process. I did a podcast. I don't know if I'll air it for you guys, but I was frustrated the other day with Alder. I've been frustrated with all of this. Like, I mean, my mom, hold on, I gotta move and you're probably gonna hear about, but bitch. Though, if she could still complain, I'm okay, right, Bubba? Do you want to say anything else? Oh, honey, it's okay. Thank you. Oh, okay. Because well, I really had to move and I'm sorry because it hurts her. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing that she's in pain. I'm laughing that like she's still with us. It's like she's basically like it's funny. I feel like I went from looking at her as this like ageless, beautiful goddess warrior, like I mean, I can go on and on for the intelligent. I mean, Bubba is just one of the most profound creatures. I don't even want to. I mean, she's an animal. There's nothing wrong with being an animal, but like she's just a profound entity living in this cat body, and I definitely think she is correlated somehow to Baba Yaga. I don't know how. I don't know if she was her or she's like me, where she's just a witch, and like maybe Baba Yaga would be something that she wanted to be referred to. I don't know. I'll never. I don't feel like I'll ever really understand Baba until she's on the other side. Because I feel like that with my mom. Like I speculated a lot about my mom, but when my mom crossed over, everything changed. I mean, everything shifted. And I feel like it's kind of the same with her. So, um, so I know I went off on a little trail there, but it's okay because it's all going to come back into why this all came to be. So I'm, going to talk to you guys about Mercury retrograde because over the last week, it has just been, let's just say this, for months, it's been tough. Like I said, when Bubba started declining in June, and then, my mom, and then Alder, whatever, it's like all this time, all of these different things have been happening. Not to mention that I've been looking for somewhere else to live, looking for work trade jobs because I was like, I don't want to live in here again. And if I am going to live in here again, it needs to be a certain way. I'm like, I cannot just, live, X, Y, and Z. Like, the off grid thing, I'm not going to lie, there's parts of it I really love. And then there are other parts of it where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll lose my noggin. So in the last 6 weeks, basically, we were supposed to finish the remodel. Alder kind of, I don't want to say bailed, but it's ironic that he's a triple Gemini and his moon's in Sagittarius because he's like, he'll admit it. He self-admits he's one of the worst communicators. And I said, then that's something you chose to rectify with in this lifetime. Because, I mean, the one thing I loved about my Gemini friends, because I had many, it's very interesting. And I've dated Geminis. So I almost married a Gemini. But the interesting thing is Gemini, divine masculine and divine feminine, in my experience, are very different. So all of the Geminis that I've ever known that were my really good friends were women. And they were top-notch women. I mean, top-notch fucking women. I mean, I remember one when I was working as I almost said a suitor, as a server. I wanted to say server and waiter at the same time. I was working in a restaurant, a fine dining restaurant, with this amazing, amazing creature. And I'd never really known anybody like her at that time. And she was the first Gemini that I really like. It was like a love-hate relationship when we first started, because being a triple Sag and my moon is Scorpio, Gemini is my natural, sign, right? We're the other side of the axis, but it depends. It depends on so many things. And that's what I started to learn about the Geminis, is that I tend to have more fun with the May Geminis, but the June Geminis are like the ones that I learned the most from, if that makes any sense. But my May Geminis are smart, quick as a whip, like all that stuff, intelligent, like all that, everything. Beautiful, good communicators. Like, I mean, I can go on and on, but there is something really powerful about all the June ones. And in fact, one of them, her name was Junie because she was born in June. But my first, or not my first, but my last shaman that I actually really worked with was a Gemini. And this person that I spoke of that I worked with we worked at this fine dining restaurant together, and she was studying to be a doctor. And I remember, like, when we first started working together, I drove her crazy and she drove me crazy because I was more loosey-goosey. We were in our 20s, like, and so she's like very serious. Like, she's in medical school. Like, she's like, very rigid. She's, whatever. But she was an excellent communicator. She would come up to me, and this is when my name is Tallulah Kelly, Lula Kelly, but Kelly Ann was my birth name. And so, It was the way I have to say this because and preface this because it was the way she'd say it to me. Because I know I was a childish buffoon. I know what I was in my 20s. You know what I mean? Like I just started getting my shit together in my late 30s, early 40s, and that is the fucking truth. And I can tell you right now, about to be 53 in a few weeks, I am still a big child inside, and I love that part of me. But I'm also incredibly intelligent because I have been this sponge that has picked up things from all these other very highly intelligent people. I've been blessed to work with very highly intelligent people. Almost all of my family and my friends, highly intelligent people. I may not like their politics or their belief systems or whatever, but there's nothing you could take away from my family. I mean, I can't even really think of one family member on both sides of my family that is not intelligent or doesn't have like really good common sense. Um, the other things are like part of who they are and their process and their path. But so I've been very, very blessed with that. Ironically, not a lot of emotional intelligence though. But when we talk about like common sense, intelligence, readers, scholars, that kind of thing, naturally intelligent, that, yes, lots of it. So very, very grateful for that. I had a lot of teachers, which made me a great teacher. But, but I just remember the one time we were hanging out or we were at work and, she was trying to study and I was by the computer and I didn't push her, but I was like, excuse me. And she kind of like put her hand on my arm very calmly and looked me in the face and said, Kelly, do you not see me here studying? There is another computer on the other side, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and I looked at her and I was like, this is when we started to really spar. Because I said, okay, well, I'm at work and you're studying at work. So I like this. The reason why I liked that one is because the way that the computers were, we had them all over the kitchen, but the way that they worked, or the locations that they were, I liked that one because it was in the corner and it was quiet. I didn't realize then that I was a telepathic medium. I didn't realize like I knew I can hear people, but I always thought I was like, I know that this is gonna, some of you might get this and some of you may not, but I really genuinely just like thought like I was hearing people's conversations, not necessarily realizing that I was hearing their thoughts in their head. It started to occur to me. I mean, I always felt like I could hear people's thoughts, but I just thought it was like me thinking about them, if that makes any sense. So, and then like if I'd hear like grocery lists or something, I'd be confused, but I would go, oh yeah, I guess I need cat litter or something, but in my mind, right? Like I probably was actually hearing someone's thoughts saying, oh, I need cat litter. Does that make any sense? So over the years, I've honed my gifts and my skills to realize and come to a realization of my purpose. But looking back on all these times and these people and these lessons, it's been profoundly uh, magical, really, to see like who I've become because of it. But I just, I remember now, like, yeah, I fought for that corner computer, and that's why she was there because she could be kind of like hidden away and like, she kept her books in the corner. And honestly, our boss never gave her any trouble because she was that person. She was so fucking like her brain was like a computer. She can go to a table and take an order for like a six top. And if you know what I'm talking about, it's like basically six people. She can go and take an order for six people and not write it down. I'm like, I mean, I could do that if it's like maybe four on a good day and I'm not busy. But I got to the point where I'm like, yeah, I ain't taking any chances, and I just started taking, writing it down. Because I was lucky enough to start working in restaurants when they started using POS systems. But I remember when I first became a server and a bartender, there were some places that it was still by hand. Actually, that's not true. I did have one job that it was by hand. It was like a little mom and pop shop. That's right. I forgot about that place, Adagio, in LA. Huh. I forgot about that. But anyway, but he was kind of archaic and he did get computers while I worked there. But when I first started there, they were still doing that. I think he got computers maybe like a month or so after I started there, which I was so grateful for because I'd only ever done it that way. I'd known people who'd done it like the diner. They used to call it the diner way, like you'd be like, And then they had like nicknames for eggs and shit, like they wouldn't even say eggs. They'd be like over easy, hard, hard, soft, whatever. And it's like they would just like know the lingo. Anyway, I digress again. But why I'm telling you all this, because I know I started this by telling you about the commercials and everything, is that I just started to realize like what's happening on the planet. And one of the things that I found so interesting was because the channel, the Hallmark channel, didn't show up for, hold on one second. I got to keep an eye on Bubba for a second. Hold on. Okay. She's having a hard time moving and shifting. Her arthritis has really come in. It's interesting though, because when she's like around here, just walking around, she's fine. But it's when she's going to sit down or lay down. And that's what's really been like the head fuck for me, because sometimes the way she moves her body, it looks like she's going to pee. And so I'm like, no, 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 and I'm like trying to catch her or put something under her or like whatever. But that's the thing. It's like, I'm still trying to figure out, like, because I've never seen this side of her, because it's like the times that I'm like, oh, she's just getting comfortable, that I'm like, no, 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 I'm like, don't be there. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But yesterday I made her go outside. Well, I didn't make her. I've been trying to get her to go outside because I think that's why she's deteriorating so quickly, because all of a sudden it's just like one day she stopped going outside. It got cold and rainy and that was it. She didn't want to go out anymore. And I was like, babe, you need to go outside. I'm like, you need to connect to Gaia. Like Gaia will heal you and she will help you. I'm like, come on. And she just wouldn't. Um, and I didn't want to fuck with her because I could tell she was in pain. So I'm like, I didn't want to like make her be like, "Rah," and like get all like whatever. So the other day she was super, super weak and I was like bawling my eyes out because I'm like, this is it. This is it. Um, and she let me pick her up and I put her outside. And actually she stayed out there, not much, not very long, maybe about 3 minutes, but she was out there and then she like came back in. So yesterday, she ate like she kept her food down for like 24 hours. I was like so excited. I was like, oh, that's awesome. She has her good days and her bad days. Um, and she started to meow. I was going in and outside. It's been like pouring rain here. We went from like beautiful weather for the last few years, and like all of a sudden, all of us are dealing with it, right? Like everybody is. I mean, I can't be like boohoo me. People are like flooding and don't have homes. So, God bless them. I've been sending peace and prayer and hope to the planet, but, and support, of course. But, you know, it's just when it happens, when it shifts so quickly, it's kind of hard. You know what I mean? We've been having a little bit of rain, but like nothing consistent. And now it's been like basically for weeks on end, it's more rain than sun. So we had a little bout yesterday where the sun came out for like a little bit and I had the door open and I was putting some stuff on the line and she was like, meow, meow. She was like at the end of the couch, I want to go outside. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I brought her outside. She let me pick her up and I brought her outside and she started kind of slow. And then she went to the bathroom outside. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, yay. It was like all these, like, it was like so great. Then she started running around. Like after she'd been outside for a while, she was doing much better. But then she started licking this rusted pole and I was like, no, no, no. It's like she feels like she's missing something. And I get it. Like I know that she's missing that, but like we're giving her everything she can have. It's just that like her body is checking out. And, I personally, I told her, I'm like, if you want to live like an old lady like this for years, like I'll take care of you. I don't like smelling like the, urine queen over here, but, I'll do what I got to do. She's my best friend. I will support her. She's my elder friend. And that's what I was going to say earlier is like before it's like she was ageless. And now it's all of a sudden, it's like when I look at her, I see Baba Yaga. Like I see this old witch and I see this elder and I see this like, that's why when I laughed with that, because she's like, "Rah." She's like that old person that's like, leave me be and I'll do it myself, and you're just like, okay, but at the same time, I mean, today she started to poop on the couch and I'm like, why are you doing that? Like her poop pad is like just a few steps away. And it's weird. It's like in some days I can tell she really is like with it. And then other days, like I call them her good days and her bad days. And on the bad days, it's not even that like it's like kitty dementia or whatever. The bad days are like she wants something, and if I don't give it to her, she's going to do what she wants, or she'll misbehave to, and that's like her little inner child that's like, yeah, watch me, fuck you, you know what I mean? Like when the mom's like no, and the kid's like, watch me do it. Um, and I was like, I literally, like, when she started to, I moved her body towards her thing, and she was like, meow, and I was like, get up there and go poop up there, and she did it. Um, but the traumatizing thing that's been happening is I have not had more than 4 hours of sleep at a time. I mean, it's like it's reminiscent to, if you guys remember when Alder almost died, and I had to, and after we got him out of the hospital, I had to give him the tube feedings through his stomach, like every 4 hours, and I couldn't sleep, and I was like exhausted, and I was like, man, I'm like, I would not have been a good parent. I was like self-admitted. I'm like, I wouldn't have been a good parent. I just wouldn't. I'm like, I just wouldn't. I mean, I just had no patience. We basically got evicted. I had to beg my landlord to let us stay because that's when we lived on the farm where our landlord lived too. And her house was like about 100 feet from ours. And I just, after several days of, no sleep and taking care of him and changing, gauze pads and the food, I mean, just everything. I mean, he was so weak, he could barely, take care of himself, and, helping him get to the bathroom and just like all that stuff. I just lost my shit, and I went outside and I was like, fuck. And I just like screamed, fuck, like as loud as I can scream it. And I just was crying. I walked down the road away from the house, but um, she had walked out behind me. I thought she was getting in her car to leave, and I didn't look. I just kept walking. So she did hear me, and she just was like, I can't deal with this shit. Like, you guys are, you know what I mean? She's like, it's just too much drama. It's too much trauma. Like, I can't. And I was like, are you serious? I'm like, you're kicking us out. I'm like, I mean, I'm taking care of someone who almost died. I'm like, neither one of us have worked. I'm like, I barely have enough money to keep us here. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? So she ended up letting us stay, but I had to, like, really kiss her ass and like do a lot of chores, and like I just felt like it was rough. It was really, really rough. So this is about as reminiscent to that as, and for those of you, I mean, that are moms, I can't even. I don't know how. I mean, I guess the sleep deprivation is different because they're new, and but I'm going to tell you something. Waking up in pee has not been my favorite thing. I I mean, it's not her fault. I don't think she's trying to be a certain way. It's just that, the incontinence, I know it's not her fault. It's just we live off grid. So when the other day, basically, we did more remodeling. We didn't do any more gutting. We just did more remodeling because I said to him, I'm like, I think the reason why her health is so poor is because she doesn't feel like she has somewhere she can heal. Um, Before we had like an area for her and she had a bed and like all these things, but the way we had things, it just, she wasn't feeling it. And I could tell she wanted, it's like a kid who's sick and is like, mom, you just want to be with your mom. You just want to sit with your mom. It was like that. Like I could tell she wanted to come sit with me on the couch, but she had to like jump down from this thing, and it was hurting her to do that. And I kept picking her up, but then she wouldn't stay long. It's like I think she felt insecure, like that she didn't have the control and the independence that she was used to. So I said to Alder, I'm like, you know what? I think we need to rearrange everything. So we decided to, since he wasn't sleeping here anymore and she couldn't get up on the bed, we decided to take the bedroom, that we were so excited to have this queen bed. The three of us only slept on this queen bed together for like a few months when we moved in here. It was such a bummer. And then he moved out, or she got sick and he moved out and blah, blah, blah. So now what we did was we just decided we covered, the mattress, and just we're like using it kind of as storage. So we just moved everything back, and we had gotten this twin bed he was going to turn the Eurovan into his little tiny home here so that he can like have a place to stay here and be with us more. But then when he realized he wasn't ready to be here and he still needed some time alone and he wasn't sure if that was going to last through the winter and yada, yada, I said, well, I'm glad we got that bed for nothing. And he's like, no. And I was like, yeah, you're right. We probably got it for something. And then the other day it dawned on me. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, well, let's take out this furniture. Let's move this furniture around. So what we did was we put the twin bed in here, and we've been using it as a day bed slash my bed so that I can be here to take care of her. And also we built like this cool little thing where she can climb up on this thing to climb up on this thing, where it's like she doesn't have to jump to this and jump to that. She can just climb, gingerly, like however she, feels, to make it easier for her. And we've got, pee pads all over the place for her, and then pee poo pads or whatever. And then, we've got a nice place for her food and her water, and it's comfortable and it's padded. Like everywhere she wants to go, it's like padded so that it's like easier on her limbs and, her joints and all that stuff. So we've been doing our ultimate best to take care of her. We really have. But that being said, I kind of had a fucking meltdown. I didn't kind of, I had a meltdown. Not last night, but the night before. 24 robbers were knocking at my door. Sorry, I had to. I think that's how it goes. It's an old silly limerick rhyme or whatever. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's just a silly thing. For those of you who do, you know what I'm talking about. But literally, when I put the bed in here, I said to her, I had a conversation with her, and I said, please don't pee on here. I said, if you got to pee, you've got to get your butt up there. You got to do it. I said, I don't have extra things. We were going to go to the laundromat, but I said, let's wait until after Thanksgiving, because he had stuff going on and I had stuff going on. And I was like, why don't we just wait? I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm like, I don't think I can handle the laundromat right now. And he's like, okay. And I was blessed with, I said, we still have this many towels, this many blankets. I'm like, we're still good. And he's like, cool. Yeah, no. So every night, for more nights in a row than I know now, every night I have been woken up, and before, when I was sleeping in the bed, I could hear her, puke or whatever. And I would find the accidents when I woke up, but at least I was getting full sleep. Now that I'm on here, when she's up, I'm up, like a baby. So if she's puking, I'm up, and I got to clean it up right away, right? Because it's on the bed, or it's in her space, or it's somewhere, I've done my best to keep as many, I always have at least 4 pee pads going for her so that she, feels secure in that, clean ones. And yeah, so 2 nights ago, the night before, I had a good night's sleep, but I didn't sleep long. Ironically, it wasn't from her. I just, would wake up or whatever. But we had one good night where there was no peeing and no puking. And I woke up, but I went back to sleep. But then 2 nights ago, and so I thought, maybe she's taking a turn. You know what I mean? When someone's not doing well and you want them to be better and you want it to be better. If you've ever known or had a failing, aging, it doesn't matter how old they are, but anybody, whether it's a human or animal in your life that has gone through the death process, it's not easy. Or the life process for the mothers with the new babies coming in, right? Because their bodies are rejecting it until they can, keep the food down and, and all that kind of stuff. But it's been really challenging, and I have felt very alone. And I said things to Alder like, I feel abandoned. I feel like, I'm like, what if we were parents? What if we were both her parents? I said, this kind of feels like, to me, it was likened to, what if we got together and I had a toddler and the father died or was out of the picture or whatever, and this toddler called you dad, and you loved this child, and this child grew up with you. You knew this child, they call you dad, you call them daughter, And that's my daughter, you know, blah, blah, blah. You have a great relationship. But then the daughter falls ill and comes home to have the mother, you know, the parents take care of them. Do you think the parent would just, you think the father would be like, well, it's not my kid. You know, I've got my own problems right now, like, you know, blah, 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 and just leave? I'm like, you would hope not. Because that's kind of how it felt like to me. Because we don't think of Baba as like an animal, even though she is. It's like she's our best friend, she's our family member. So I have felt abandoned because I'm like, you know, I spoke of this in the other podcast where I was saying a lot of the men right now can't handle what's going on. And I feel like it's because of the divine masculine is like having a major meltdown, breakdown. And really what it is, it's for all of us to face this masculine, you know, father wound. Oh, hi. You saying hi to everybody? Okay, you can lay there. It's okay. There she is. And so I realized, I'm like, you know, I don't know what Bubba's going through. You know, not really. You know what I mean? Because animals, I feel like I don't really, I'll never know because, well, and that's not true. Maybe someday I'll know. And I have glimpses of it, but like I rescued Bubba off the street. So I have no idea like what her childhood was like, what her relationship with her mother was like, if she had other siblings, you know, was the father around, was she, you know what I mean? Like I literally found her at a bus stop. So I have no idea like her background. And she's been limited in showing me. It's almost as if she just showed up. I mean, even the coffee shop where I was at when I was looking for a cat on my laptop and, you know, found out the whole story about her from the coffee shop workers and everything. Um, you know, I mean, she was like divinely placed into my orbit. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know what she went through before that, but she had to go through her own things too. So she's going through healing as well. And everybody on the planet is going through something. One of our fellow tribe members, Star Family, Soul Family, whatever you guys refer us to, um, they were like, wow, that's so interesting. They're like, my dog, it's a masculine dog though, a male dog. She's like, my dog has been going through the same thing. They're around the same age. And she's like, wow, they started going through the same thing that, you know, Dolly, that's Bubba's real name is Dolly. You know, she's like that when Bubba was going through it or started going through it. And I thought, well, that makes sense because like the whole planet is shifting and changing and you know, so I said to Bubba, I'm like, you know, she's either, I feel like Bubba is either here to just help ride this out with me and help me through it, or she's like, this is like this is it. Like I signed on, this was my soul contract. Like, you know, this is how I'm going to go. This is what's going to happen you know, because I've been beating the shit out of myself because I've wanted to take, just like I wanted to go home and visit my mom, but like spirit was like holding me back and like Bubba got worse. And I was like, well, I'm not leaving Bubba. I was afraid if I left, she'd die, you know? And so it's kind of interesting because I'm going through the same thing with Bubba. You know, the other day I went through this like total shit show in my mind of like how I could have done things better. Why didn't I take her to the vet? And why didn't I do this? And, you know, and I talked to her about it and I was like, I think we're going to go to the vet. And she was like, no. And, you know, she knows what I'm saying and I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I know her. I've been with her for 12 plus years. She knows exactly what I'm saying. She hears us. She hears me now talking about her. That's why she's like saying little things like she's interjecting, you know, things she wants to say. She knows, but I feel like it would have just traumatized her even further. And they probably would have wanted to put her on drugs. The other day, she made me laugh because I was like crying hysterically to her. And I'm like, I'm the worst. I started creating this new tarot deck for you guys. Oh, it's really cool. I'll tell you about it later, but I started creating this new deck and it's really fun and it's really cool. It's not done yet. I will definitely bring it out when it's time. Probably once the new moon in Sagittarius kicks in, I feel like a lot of things are going to shift and change. Um, we're in the thick of it right now. Like right now, we're in the dark thick of it, in the sludge with the Mercury retrograde and everything, which is what retrogrades do. It makes you go back and look at everything over again, and you just go through it with a fine tooth comb to really get those bugs out. You know what I mean? We want to get rid of the stuff that keeps triggering us in not a not so good way. Triggering is good because it helps and it heals. But sometimes if you've healed a wound, and a triggering can be like picking at a scab. Sometimes you need to like let it fucking scab over so it can heal. If you keep picking at it and you keep picking at it and picking at it, it's never going to heal. And some people keep picking at something because they're not ready to let it go and they're not ready to heal that. That's a different momentum. That's a different story. So I'm taking the deck, and it's a yes or no deck. And so I was just like, I was supposed to bring you to the vet. I'm a horrible person, right? And I'm like, just tell me. And so I started going through the deck, and then I was crying and beating the shit out of myself. And then once, and that was like one of the, oh, that was after I got peed on. So I think I fell asleep at like, I don't know, sometime in the evening, and I woke up at 1:45 in like just a pool of pee on the bed. But the worst part is she was on top of, she wasn't on top of me. She was on top of the duvet, but it was like the last. We have like 4 duvets now, and we have I think I told you guys I found this lady, the bed that we're on, like we got the bed, the mattress, all this bedding. She works for a dog boarding, or no, excuse me, she owns a dog boarding place um in in Poolsbo, which is like an hour from us. And we got basically we were getting the bed and the mattress, I thought, for Alder and for the Eurovan, but it turns out we ended up bringing it in here. And so she had the mattress cover, like the thick one. She had that. She had all this bedding. She had animal bedding. She had rags. She gave me like 4 garbage bags, like big garbage bags filled with like stuff. So in like, it'll be 3 weeks tomorrow that we got that stuff from her, and it's all gone through. And I had said to him, we'll be fine, because I don't think she's going to pee. Because the only thing she hadn't done, she had puked on the bed, but the very first day I put this bed together and like put the bedding and everything on it, I put towels all over it because I'm not stupid. I knew something would happen. I didn't want to put any of the pee pads on here because I don't want to encourage her to go to the bathroom on here. So I was like, but I'm not, dumb enough to, like, I don't want to say dumb, but I know better. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm just going to put towels down. So she's puked, but she has not urinated. And then when I woke up at 1:45 in the morning, I didn't feel it right away because it was on the bedding and everything. It just had soaked through. I started to feel it on my skin, like on my clothes, but like it had to go through like 2 layers before that happened. But, basically she was sleeping. So that's where the sadness is like, and I started researching, kidneys and renal failure and blah, blah, blah. Because I mean, I knew when she started licking shells over the summer, I was like, okay, I'm not, I started researching everything, and I'm like, there were days where I'm like, we're going to the vet. And she was like, no. And she would like scream. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, we're going to the vet. I'm like, we need to find out what's going on with you. And then I realized when I researched her age, like she's literally like an 80-year-old, human in terms of like age wise. But I look at Cher, she's 78 and she's amazing. You know what I mean? She's still dancing and performing, and all that kind of thing. So I know that there was one cat that lived to be in their 30s. They're the record holder to this day. So I know that cats can live older. And she really just, she flipped so fast. It was like one moment she was like fine. And the next moment it was like, she just like had a really bad molting at the beginning of this year. She started, or like maybe it was like the beginning of spring. Around then, she had she had a tough molting last year too. But it wasn't basically she's had 3 moltings in the last year. And the last 2 were so bad that she was missing like large chunks of her fur, like 6 inches in every direction, like large, where she was like a patchwork cat, where it was a little like, I was like, what's going on? This isn't Bubba, like something's not right. And then I thought, well, maybe she's just going through some major transformation, kind of like the eagle. And I just lied to myself. I told myself everything like, she's not going to die. Everything's fine. Especially when she started showing signs in June that she wasn't herself. And then I found out my mom was sick. I was like, it was just too much. It was overload. It was too much. I even said to Spirit, I'm like, I can't do this. This is too much. This is too much. I can't lose my mom and my best friend and my familiar in the same fucking day. You know what I mean? Or the same, whatever. And technically, all three of them are my best friend. My best friend is older. It's like, so basically I was, you know, and the sad thing is that Bubba is here with me. So I haven't really lost her. It's just watching her deteriorate has been extremely painful. In my past lives, and when I had animals, and even when I ran a rescue, I probably would have put her down by now. Just because I would have been like, her quality of life and la la la. But when she peed on me the other night, well, she didn't pee on me. I realized that she did it in her sleep. Because I got up and I looked and there was still one pee pad that she could have used. And I was like, son of a bitch. I'm like, why are you doing this? I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, why? And I started crying and she was like, meow. And I was like, I'm not mad at you. I was like, mommy dearest. I'm like, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the dirt. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm not mad at you. I'm like, I'm just frustrated. I started crying. I'm like, I'm frustrated. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm like, I'm so tired. And I was just like crying. And so that was the night before. And so I stayed up from 1:45 in the morning until last night. I went to bed at like, I think 7:30 or 8 o'clock. And then I woke up at midnight to her puking. And I was like, damn it. And I had to clean it up because it was like right next, it was on a towel kind of, but also on oh, and if you're wondering, what I used for bedding because it was raining and I don't have a washer and dryer and I live off grid. Yeah. So I am wearing like multiple layers of clothes. I feel like, did you ever watch that episode of Friends where Joey and Chandler get in a fight and Joey puts on all of Chandler's clothes? That was me last night. I was like, that was like the kid from Christmas Story. I was like bundled up and then still trying to use my poncho as like a blanket. It was pathetic and sad. Thank goddess though. Thank goddess. I went through we have like a bin where we have like where we keep our clean like linens and all that. And I was like, no, I don't have anything left in there. I'm like, because I've for the last 3 weeks I've been using everything from this lady because she washed everything before she gave it to me. And I was very grateful. This is how good spirit is, you guys. This is how good spirit is because you guys know what a sensitive I am and an empath and like smells and like scents and all that stuff. So if like this person, this angel who gave us all this stuff, if she had used like Tide, I would have never been able to used it. I would have had to keep it in the Eurovan until into the laundromat. Because even then, sometimes like I'll have to wash something or leave it outside in the rain for like 3 or 4 like days or sometimes a week to get rained on to like help get those because those scents are so fake and gross. Like if you're using any synthetic like scents, please stop immediately on your clothes, on your anything, your person, especially inside your body, outside your body. It does make a difference. I guarantee you 100%. It'll be a lot easier for you to move forward and function and heal if you're taking good care of yourself and you're surrounding yourself with good energy. So, when we walked into her house and I saw Myers everywhere, first of all, we went into the guest house first to get the bed because it was in like an Airbnb she had. And she's like, no one ever really used it. It was a twin bed that they used as a couch that she, made as a day bed kind of thing. And she decided she really wanted like an actual like little couch in there. So she's like, no one ever really used it for that. And it's not super comfortable. And it worked out for me because I used our couch cushions, the bottom cushions and the back cushions. The way this worked out, the bed, because we have it in the old RV, we brought the bed frame in and brought everything in. And it's like the way it is against the wall, there's like a gap, which, I'm in an RV, so it's fucking cold. You want to put something in between there. But it's actually kind of cool because all I did was push the mattress just a little bit forward and between the wall and the bed. and the mattress pushed us a little bit forward, our cushions fit perfectly behind there. It's fucking awesome. And now we've got like 2 layers of like cushions, and it's so comfortable, and it became an instant day bed. And that's where I love Spirit. We were looking for things. We were like, should we buy something? And we got it free. Um, and here's this lady who, I was a little apprehensive at first because I'm like, Bubba does not like dogs. And I was afraid if like, even if she washed it, she'd smell it and she wouldn't use it. But I think she was so frail and weak at the time that she didn't care. It was soft and it was cushy. So she was like, yeah, that's cool. I'll deal with it. Um, but yeah, I think the reason why she peed is because she was finally so comfortable. It was our third night with the bed. And I think she was just so comfortable, and she was laying next to me, and it's like, she's on a cushy bed. She's not just like on, before I had it like, on the desk, I had like layers of like, fabric and stuff. And like, I had a sham, like one of those like quilted pillow shams. So I had like things like bedding, like animal bedding and stuff, but it's not the same. She's older. She's been with us forever. She's always been allowed on the beds, the couches. So she's always had a place for herself. She's always had her own pillows, her own things. So right now is when she needs that kind of stuff the most. So I wasn't mad at her. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like literally, I don't have anything. And then I thought, well, you know what? It's okay. I'm just going to stay up. I was like, well, I'm up now. And in that time between 1:45 and 8 a.m. when I texted Alder to like see if he could take us to the laundromat, in between that time, I was crying. I was laughing. I went through so much therapy. I was like, well, welcome Mercury retrograde. I'm like, what the fucking fuck? But at the same time, it made me look at all of these different things that were happening for me, not to me, but for me. And even Baba in the end is like, Spirit's like, show her some grace. Find that grace within you. When you're at your worst, when your back is up against the wall, you know what I mean? Like, that's when we have to search the hardest for grace. That's when we have to search the hardest for love, for forgiveness, for understanding, and all of these things with unconditional terms. So when I was like bitching and complaining on my other podcast where I was like, why isn't Alder here? I spoke about how, at the end I realized that I'm not mad at Alder, right? Just like I wasn't mad at Baba. It's like I'm frustrated with what's happening all around. And not only that, but this is my karma as well. I built this world. When I was younger, I lived high on the hog, and I did make a lot of money, but I also spent beyond my means. Because I made a lot of money, I was always like, oh, it's going to come back, or oh, it's going to happen, or blah, 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 until it didn't. And I had my first real wake-up call when I was in my late 20s. And I don't remember if I quit or if I lost my job. I don't remember what happened, but I think it might have been mutual. I just, as a server, I worked on and off in restaurants, and as a server and a bartender, there's just only so much you can take, and you just like are like, I can't, like. And I remember I kept warning my first husband where I was like, I need to take a break. And there was a long, long, long period of time where he did not work, and all he did was focus on his bands, because he's like, I'm having a hard time. His theory was, he was trying to work jobs and work his bands, but if he could just concentrate on his music, then, maybe he can really, make it and take off and all this stuff. And I was like, okay. Oh, I just realized that it's getting darker out. I've been holding it like this because it's been so dark in here, but now it's like the light is shining on, and you could see Baba. Say hi, Mama. Do you want to say hi? You can kind of see some really beautiful pictures of her in the morning light the other day. She looked like Batman. Papa, it's okay. It's like we all go through things. Um, but I remember I couldn't hold down the fort more. You know what I mean? Like I just couldn't hold down the fort, and I was like, you have to work, or you got to do something. I'm like, I'm about to lose it. I can't keep doing this. And there was about 9 months where I didn't work. And then we had a massive fight, and he's like, you need to start bringing money in. I can't do this by myself. And I was like, well, I can't do this by, I was like, I did it by myself, and we had animals and stuff too. I was like, I can't do it all by myself either. Oh, okay. I went to pet her and she doesn't seem, she's really sensitive right now. You want on your head? Is that better? Okay. But long story short, you will after this is done. Hold on, you guys. Okay. She just wanted to settle in and get cozy. But I just remember like the freedom I felt and also terror because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do for a living. I had tried all these different jobs. I had done all these different things and I just couldn't do it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. And looking back on it now, I feel like even then spirit was trying to push me like to go to my purpose, but I still wasn't sure exactly what it was. And I just kept looking for love in all the wrong places and trying to find love and trying to fill this void of my all the inner child stuff, all the traumas, all the everything. I didn't realize at the time what was happening. But now, as I just told you all of this, I'm realizing what is really happening. And like I said at the beginning of this, I'll put a link in the description box and in the comments to this dragon language activation thing. I don't even know the person. I want to say it's JJ Activations. I'm almost positive because I looked at it right before this. And maybe you know of this person, but I don't recall subscribing to them before. Maybe I did and I don't remember because it sounds familiar to me. But I just really connected to that message. At first, I had a cringy moment because she kept saying the Holy Father, and I'm like, I can't. Like, just in all my church stuff growing up, like, I was just like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I was like, no. But then I realized even in that trigger, and what is the Holy Father trigger? It's the father figure. It's the divine masculine. Even though Bubba is a female identified cat, when I found her, everybody said she was a boy. I thought she was a boy. She gave off such a strong masculine energy. When we brought her to the vet, because obviously she rescued her off the street, she was fluffy. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel, but I didn't want to like go and like feel her private parts. I was like, I knew I had to take her anyway, so I'm like, I'm just going to bring her in. And I just remember the vet was so funny when he came out and he's like, it's a girl. And I was like, really? I'm like, she's so big. And he's like, yeah, he's like, most likely she's Maine Coon. He's like, they're more of a wild feral, cat. He's like, they're really, really big around here. That was in Portland, Oregon at the time. He said, but she could be mixed with something. He's like, she's really fluffy. And I think she may have been mixed with ragdoll. Like maybe somebody's ragdoll got outside and got knocked up by a Maine Coon. I don't know. Because sometimes she looks like a Maine Coon. Like she's definitely not 100% Maine Coon for sure. But so she's either got some type of Himalayan or ragdoll or something. But the interesting thing is, in the last, like by now she would have like her mane, her coat, like she would be like really like looking regal like she does, but she doesn't. She's getting a little fluffier, thank goddess, because I was getting a little concerned about that. But yeah, I don't know. And I can't tell, she's not sharing with me if like these are her last moments or if she's going to live like this for a while. So every day has been just such an interesting experience. That's why you guys aren't getting a lot of videos from me, or I'm not hitting my channels as hard as I would like to. It's because I'm just spent, man. I am fucking spent. And though there is a side of me that does feel a little resentment and abandonment from my partner, I also can tell, like, when I tried to talk to him about it, he had his own meltdown, and I was like, he can't handle it. And at first, I'm just going to be real straight with you guys. And this is a projection of how I was raised, not necessarily how I feel, okay? I want to preface that because it's really important. But as I call her, my Southside Chicago Kelly, who's like the badass, masculine, like says it like it is, will, tell you to your face, blah, 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 blah. It took everything out of me not to lose my cool with him, because when he started to melt down, my Southside Chicago Kelly was like, you need to fucking man up. Like, don't be a bitch. Like, that's what I wanted to say to him, but that's not how I feel. That's just my, like, I am where I am for all the choices that I've made over my life. And when I told you about that happened with my ex-husband, not only was I not working, I was also racking up all of our credit cards. When I've never shared this with you guys, I don't think I've ever shared this with my friends or my family, maybe my close friends and family, but I don't believe I ever shared this with anyone. But when my first marriage ended, even though I could have gone for spousal support and we were together for almost 10 years, like I could have easily, um, he cheated on me, like all the things, right? Like I could have done so much. Like I could have done so much to get money. But instead, he said, how about this? I'll take all the credit cards and I'll pay them off. Because I had accrued about $35,000. I know, you can gasp. It's okay. I accrued about 35, I want to even say it might have been $37,000 of credit card debt towards the end of my relationship with him. Now, over time, it was bad. When I first started, see, the thing is the credit cards at that time really lured you in, because that's when they started doing well, if you switch to this card, we'll take, we'll buy off your debt or whatever. And, you'll have no interest for a year, or like all these things. Like if you are older, you know what I'm talking about. They may still do it now. I haven't had a credit card in like 15 years, so I don't know. But I stopped having credit cards because of that. My addictions, when I was angry or when I needed something, when I thought I deserved something. I mean, I just was so unhealthy with money, especially because I worked in fine dining and I worked in jobs where I could make $500 in one night sometimes. So to me, it was like if my credit card bill was $2,700, sometimes when the bill would come, I'd pay like $500 of it. But when it got to the point where we were really, it basically, I was on a track to getting them paid down, but then we fell into a hole. And then you've got these interest rates and like all this. And then finally, I think I had 3 credit cards at one point, and I think he did something because his credit was like immaculate. It was mostly on I think it was mostly on mine. I don't even think I don't think I ever put anything on his name. But we were married, you know what I mean? So my debt is his debt kind of thing. But I mean, I was just so miserable. And then we weren't working and it just went really down. I went from like going where I wanted to, traveling, getting what I wanted when I wanted, eating out, drinking, partying, having fun, doing whatever I wanted, to like just my interest payment was $36 a month. So if I just paid the minimum, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, we're never going to get ahead. And that's basically what happened, where we could barely pay the minimums. And then it was like one $2,200 card racked up to like almost $5,000 in a year. And I barely used it. Like that kind of shit. The interest like ate us, it literally buried us alive. And I knew that that was actually a better deal, because when we were breaking up, I was like, okay, I had a good job and I liked my job. And so I was like, you know what, this is going to be fine. Everything's going to work out, whatever. Um, but yeah, so that kind of stuff, it makes you, I mean, my parents divorced when I was 12 and my dad evaporated from my life, but my dad was barely in my life when I was growing up. And that's what I started to realize what was happening with Baba and Alder and me. And like, that's the culmination of this whole story, is that I started to realize, sorry, I almost dropped you. Um, I'm like, there's my poncho. I guess I could put my hand over it. There we go. I started to realize that Alder is like kind of stepping in as my father figure right now. And Bubba going through her, like, I'm serving as her death doula, but I'm also more than just her death doula. You know, it's like I'm her caregiver. I'm her best friend. I'm her mom. I'm her sister. I'm her, you know what I mean? I'm like multiple things for her right now. And normally Alder would be here. The longest we ever lived apart in almost 10 years was 6 weeks. So to go through all of this alone it's been at least 6 weeks that I've been dealing with this, and it's been getting progressively worse every day. Like I said, she has her good days and her bad days, but even on her good day, I'm still cleaning up. She may not be puking or peeing where she's not supposed to, but I'm still cleaning up her pee pads and doing her dishes. And, you know, she keeps wanting to eat kibble, and I give her some kibble, but it's just not, her body can really only handle protein right now. But even the protein is, hard on her kidneys. So she's just in a very, it's just, she's at the end of her cycle. I'm quite sure of it. I've had her almost, like I said, I've had her 12 plus years, and I rescued her off the street. So the vet said then she was between 1 and 3 years old. I think she was closer to 1. She was still very childish and playful. She was big, but she was, she had that kind of like kitten energy, or that puppy energy, they call it, that baby energy, the young energy. She wasn't really a baby anymore, but she wasn't really quite a teenager yet. And then when I fixed her, she went from being like this. I had to fix her soon after I got her, because she went into heat. And then I fixed her when she was in heat, and she, kind of went from being like, it's like she never got to be a teenager, it's like she kind of went from being a child to a woman. Like when a young lady gets her period, and when the moon arrives, we, all of a sudden it's like, I had friends who got it when they were 9. And I was like, gosh, when you're 9, you can barely handle anything, and you got to worry about a pad. You got to worry about, having that kind of, that's a huge responsibility. So women grow up a little bit faster than, or girls grow up a little bit faster than boys in that facet. And I feel like, in this message, this light language, this dragon activation, I didn't listen to the meditation so much as I was drawn to listen to the beginning of it. And so you can listen to the whole video, not listen to it, but I really want you to listen to the beginning of it so you can understand like where I'm going with this conversation, the way she spoke of the Holy Father as a being, and that we have taken on the roles of divine masculine and divine feminine energy too literally, and that the Holy Father, the way she spoke of it, and she kept saying, now these were quotes or things that she took from somebody else too, right? Like that's all we are. We're just messengers, prophets, teachers. We're just carrying the message forward to help you to further with your own activation and your own growth and awakening process. And so, I can just reiterate everything she said, but I really think you would get something from it. It's only 25 minutes long. The activation that she speaks of was, when I looked down, it was 11:11. So it's only 11 minutes and 11 seconds of your time. And then if you want to listen to the light language transmission from the dragon energy, I think you'd probably benefit from it, especially from our tribe members who are very dragon-esque, like I am. Bubba is too. Even if you remember, I've been telling you that she's been having these incontinence issues for a while. But when she peed on me a few weeks ago, I thought she was doing it to be a brat because she didn't want me on the bed. I do think that there might have been part of that, but I really do think that it was an accident too. Because after that happened, once we calmed down and I um, ripped all the bedding off and whatever, I kind of just fell back on the couch and started crying. And I'm like, Baba, I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, this sucks, dude. I'm like, this really sucks. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm just so tired. I'm like, I just need to sleep. I'm like, I haven't had a decent night's sleep in weeks. I'm exhausted. I'm like, I feel like I can't work. We got down to like $36 last week. I was like, what the fuck? Like, how am I going to pay, how are we going to pay the rent? Like, it's just been weird. And I can tell he's going through something too. And it's just been really, 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 really intense. And then when the Mercury retrograde hit, I realized I'm like, that's what's happening. It's like I'm revisiting all these painful moments and all these painful experiences. And I even said to him, I'm like, we haven't had any money issues in so long. I said, I think it's because we are both like, like when I saw him melt down like that, I was like, are you cleaning up pee-pee? Like when I melted down the other day, it was like in my mind, right? In my like fucking ego mind, I'm like, I deserve to have that breakdown. That happened. That was horrible. Like I'm like, you're not doing shit. Like, why are you fucking like having a meltdown right now? But who am I to say? Like, he's going through his own stuff. He's going through his own stuff. And so yesterday, like I said, I stayed up from 1:45 in the morning onward. And I thought, well, I'm not going to text him, even though I know he gets up, at like 5 or 6 in the morning, like I do. I was like, I'm not going to bother him. I wanted him to have like his morning and his meditations, and he likes his tea and like his, whatever. We just run on different cycles. Like he needs to have that. Like I need certain things too, but I'm just a little tougher and a little stronger. We both are. In certain areas, he's tougher and stronger than me, and I for him. Like it's just interesting because it is. But in that kind of stuff, it's like she can't hold, sir. I was talking to one of our fellow light worker friends recently, and she said, I keep hearing hold. She's like, I just keep hearing hold, 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 hold. Like we need to hold. And I said, yeah, I feel like that too. So that's why I've been not allowing, because I mean, I say allowing, meaning like I could push him harder to be here and help me and stuff, but it's like, it's not going to help any of us because he's not there right now. He's going through a different process, and the divine masculine is going through something. All of our divine masculine is going through a breakdown and a breakthrough. But those who identify with male, like, you know what I mean? Those, like, I have 70% masculine in my chart, but I am outwardly a female woman. I have female reproductive organs, you know what I mean? But like, I am, with all intents and purposes, you know what I mean? Like hi, honey. My chart is mostly masculine. We're going to eat after this. I'm almost done. Okay. Do you need to, are you okay? Do you want to pause it? You want to say hi? No. She keeps getting up and pacing because she's hungry. But that's the other thing that's been really difficult is when she throws up, before she would just go back and eat. Like if she had a hairball or something, she'd rest for a minute and then she'd go back and eat. She'd be fine. But this is different. Her body has to rest. Her body can't, it can only do so much right now. And until, it completely leaves her, until her soul leaves her avatar, it's going to be different. And so she's struggling too, because I can see it in her face. Like sometimes she feels really good. Yesterday when she was outside and she was running around, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, she's going to be fine. I'm like, she's just going through something. And she came back in here and she was fine and everything was good. But then and then she didn't pee and she didn't puke. But then when she woke up at midnight and she puked and I saw it, I was like, damn it. You know what I mean? And it was a lot. So I was like, ugh. So it's like her body's only taking in so much nutrients, and she is having bowel movements, but they're like, even with the coconut oil, she's struggling. You know what I mean? Like it's just, so I don't know. It's like she could be like this for another week, another month, 2 months. This could be a year. Maybe her body's adjusting to being an elder. I have no idea. Maybe everything will completely switch over. I literally don't know. But if I were to guess, in February, it'll be 13 years. And since we run with the witches, I would think she'll be here till February, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But I forgave him. Getting back to that, I told him to leave. I said, okay. I said, all right, just go. And he's like, okay. So I'm not angry at him, but I'm feeling, there's a part of me that's feeling kind of like, what the fuck? Like, it must be nice to just like do whatever you want, whenever you want, whatever. I'm like, I feel like I have tethered myself here. It's like Pet Cemetery with the sisters, where the one sister was so sick and she was like, she was grateful when she died, and she was like, I felt horrible for feeling grateful, but she was like, I just couldn't take it anymore. Like literally, like I couldn't handle it anymore. And no one was helping me. That's kind of how it is now. It's like, she's not there, but I know that, she's not doing it to Baba's just, trying to survive. You know what I mean? Like, she's not mad at me. She's not frustrated. She's just, or with me, you know what I mean? She's just frustrated that, this is the way it's going. She knew it was coming. She knows what's happening. But, um, you know, like I said, good days and bad days. And that's all you can do when you have good days and bad days, is just go with the flow of it. And that's it. So, work with your divine masculine and with the divine masculines around you during this Mercury retrograde season. And I highly recommend you go and watch that video so you can understand and connect to the Holy Ghost, like she was saying, to the Holy Father, because the download that she was getting was that the Holy Father energy. You're not going to the bathroom, are you? Okay, I'm just making sure. I'm just making sure. Okay. I'm going to get up. The Holy Father energy is supposed to be like a version of our fathers, right? Like, that's what we're healing right now. So if it's true, it makes sense, because when I was going through my stuff, I remember saying things like Heavenly Father, Heavenly Father. And I wanted to say Father. And then when I started working with the divine masculine and the patriarchal energy and like pushing the divine feminine forward, then I started to understand and realize what was happening. Okay, we're almost done. Oh, thank you for the reminder. Okay. Then I started to realize what was happening. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like him not being here is very reminiscent to my earthly biological father, who was not there. Whenever things got really rough, my dad went to the bar. Whenever like things, when my mom was struggling or when my mom wanted to talk to my dad, he would run. And I noticed a pattern over my adult life. My sister said that to me once. She's like, you don't stick with things long enough. You have to stick with it. Sometimes, right? Like sometimes you like, no, you're like, okay, this is what needs to happen. This is what, hold on one second. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up because I need to feed her and I need to get her settled and stuff. Um, Hold on, let me see. Maybe I can give her. Okay, so I was thinking. Okay, so to wrap this up, so watch that video, and I think you'll understand what I'm saying. And I feel like this is something we're going to talk about during this Mercury retrograde right now. I think it's like really important for us to talk about it. I think it's really powerful. I know, I know. Here, let's get your food ready. Okay, let's get your food ready. Once we get her ready, then she'll get excited and she'll be like, "Oh yay! Okay, okay, here we go." Um, but I really want you guys to focus on what's going on in your in that world, in terms of your divine masculine, whether it's your father, your significant other, it could be your child, it could be your boss, it could be something like that. But I've been thinking about doing like kind of like a book club, but like with like this video, for instance. Like I feel like I want you guys to watch this video and like tell me what you think. But I'm thinking about starting a group, and maybe we can do it by like donation only, where like I'll facilitate the group and we, can come in together, and it'll be like a book club, but like maybe, we'll have a topic, and maybe at the end of each, group, somebody can put forward a topic for us to each go out and like, research or look up, whatever, or something that we'll talk about for the next time. Because I feel like there's so many of us that are so powerful and we can really help each other. And every time I get off the phone with one of you guys or off a video chat or something like that, I always like get this vibe, like it would be so helpful if we can all like come in together like a group. I've been talking about this for years. I haven't implemented it because I wasn't called to, but Baba was just reminding me of that because I've been really thinking about doing that again. Because one of our tribe members the other day was like, we got to figure out a way for you to like, make money again the way you used to. I was like, I know. I'm like, like I said, I think it's tied into my karma. I really do. I think it's, but I think I'm at the end of it. You know what I mean? Because, we've only got 2 more months of the dragon energy and this Jupiter energy, and my triple Sag is like, I feel like the next 2 months, I feel like something major is going to like take place and change. And so I feel like I want to really talk to you guys about that and sit in with you guys about that. So feel free to, put comments below if you have any ideas of things we can do together as a group. But I do like doing the donation because, sometimes people don't have any money, but I'm like, well, donate, like, share my information, like and subscribe on my channel or whatever. Sometimes people are like, I have $5, I used to say to people, can you buy me a cup of tea? Can you buy me a latte for $5? Some people, I mean, and I've had these things before where it's like somebody will give $5, and I had one friend who gave me like $300 one time after a group thing, and I was like, holy shit, dude. I'm like, you didn't have to do that. And she's like, you know what? I can afford it. I have it. And she's like, that was amazing. And she goes, that was important. And she's like, I'm glad that I can support you while I have the money right now. So, you know what I mean? That's why I like kind of doing it that way, because then that way everybody can, so anyway, I do have my forms of that on my channel, but like I said, it's always happily accepted, but never, ever, ever expected. But with grace and gratitude, I always send you a nice little abundance prayer and all that good stuff for the gratitude for it. And it always goes back into the tribe because I'm doing this all the time, like I'm either, whether I'm learning and bringing it to you, or, you know what I mean, or doing the readings and helping you connect with your guides. Either way, that is my job, is to be the facilitator. So I gotta go feed Baba, but watch the video. I highly recommend you listen to what she's saying. I think you'll connect with it. I know I am. And I feel like I need to like think about it more. I want Alder to watch it too, so like we could talk about it, because I feel like this is something that is like the next phase of our healing with the divine masculine, because I feel like this rise of the divine feminine is awesome, but it's not like we want to push the divine masculine down. We have masculine too. It's just that we need to heal that wound, that father wound. We need to heal that dad wound, because if father is just a term of the Holy Father, like when she's saying like the creator, like the way that she was expressing it through there, because of my religious background and all that, I was like, I was just like, I can't hear that, with the Southern Baptist of the Holy Father, heal, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, like, but it also gave me a lot of food for thought and things to work through. So I hope it does the same for you, and we will be talking further on this subject. So you want to say goodbye? All right, we love you. Thank you for sending love and healing energy our way, especially to Baba, and thank you. And actually, I have received some donations lately, so thank you so much, you guys. It really does make a huge difference. And I will see you next time. Take good care of yourselves and each other. Blessed be. Oh, bye. 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 Love you, Mama.